I thought everything moved on without me. The road, the dream, the version of myself that used to wake early for reasons I couldn't explain to anyone. Years gathered quietly around unfinished plans, old race entries, forgotten notebooks, and promises made during seasons I barely remember now. So I expected distance, I expected regret, I expected the feeling of starting over from the very beginning again. Just waiting where we left off, that's what surprised me. The road wasn't gone, the dream wasn't gone. They were standing quietly at the last familiar corner, waiting for me to continue the sentence. The bridge looked smaller than I remember, the hill looked shorter, the fear looked older, and somehow the silence between us felt strangely comfortable. No lectures, no punishment, no reminder of lost time, just an invitation to pick up the story from the middle. Maybe that's how real passions behave. They don't chase you through life, they simply remain where meaning once lived. Just waiting where we left off, not demanding explanations, not asking why, just offering another chance to continue becoming the person I once hoped to be for someone. It's a marathon dream for someone, a language for someone, a guitar gathering dust in the corner of a room. And every unfinished thing holds the same question, not why did you stop, but are you ready now? The older I become, the more beautiful I find unfinished stories, because unfinished means possibilities survive the passing years. Just waiting where we left off, through every season, through every detour, through every version of who I've been. The dream stayed patient long enough for me to Some people think time destroys everything, but time also reveals what truly mattered, because the important things are often the things still waiting years later. Not every dream survives absence, not every goal survives distance, but the ones that do usually belong closer to your heart than you realize. Just waiting where we left off, not at the finish line, not in the future, but back there where belief first began and where hope never fully left. Same dream, older hands, open page, continue. The watch battery died months ago, frozen on numbers that no longer meant much, while the running shoes waited silently near the back wall. One season became another, then another, without a single training run, without a race entry, without the familiar rhythm of footsteps before sunrise. At first I noticed the absence, then slowly I stopped noticing. And that's what scared me most, how normal distance became. 0 miles since still waiting. The road never called loudly, the dream never complained, it just stayed there quietly holding space for a version of me that might return. responsibilities, unexpected changes. Days became crowded and somehow the running disappeared first. Yet every now and then a race photo appeared, an old route resurfaced, a memory slipped through, and something deep inside shifted slightly without explanation. Maybe certain passions don't leave, maybe they become quiet. Not because they're gone, but because they're waiting for room to breathe again. 0 miles since, still waiting. Not angry, not disappointed, just patient, like an old friend saving your seat year after year. For someone else running, for someone a guitar, for someone a language they wanted to learn, or a dream they paused too long. And maybe that's why this story feels familiar, because most people carry something unfinished somewhere inside them for longer than expected. The strange thing about hope is that it survives neglect. It survives silence, it survives distance, sometimes surviving far longer than we think it should. 0 miles since, still waiting. Not for perfection, not for lost time, not for an explanation, just for one small step back toward the road again. No miles, no progress, still hope, still here. The shoes looked older than I remembered, dust along the edges, laces slightly faded, waiting quietly through seasons I wasn't around. Life became crowded with responsibilities, early alarms, late evenings, unexpected detours, and promises that needed me elsewhere. Months became years without permission. The calendar kept moving, and somewhere along the way I stopped introducing myself as a runner. Long break, same heart, that's what surprised me. The legs forgot some things, the lungs forgot some things, but the reason I started was still there, waiting patiently. The first run back felt unfamiliar, awkward breathing, heavy strides, distances that once felt easy, suddenly asking questions again. Yet beneath the struggle, something felt recognizable, like hearing an old favorite song and remembering lyrics you thought were gone forever. Maybe passion doesn't disappear, maybe it sleeps beneath schedules, beneath obligations, beneath years spent becoming someone else for a while. Long break, same heart, the road didn't judge me for being gone. The sunrise didn't ask where I'd been, it simply welcomed me back like nothing changed. For someone, the break lasted months. For someone, a decade. For someone, they're still wondering if it's too late to return. And maybe that's the beautiful part about certain dreams. They don't expire, they don't resent time, they just wait for your footsteps again. 'Cause some parts of us aren't measured by recent activity, but by lasting affection. Long break, same heart, the pace is different now. The route is different now. Even I am different now. But somewhere underneath it all, the same runner still lives here. Different season, same heartbeat, welcome back. Welcome back. The route feels quieter now, not empty, just different. Like a favorite song, missing one instrument. You only notice after it's gone. Life happened quickly, new jobs, new responsibilities. Different schedules, different cities, different mornings, calling us away. Yet every now and then I still hear your voice near the hardest climb, saying something simple that somehow made the distance easier to carry. One more run together, that's all I'm asking. Not a race, not a record, just another morning where the miles disappear inside good company again. The bridge is still here, the river still moves, the sunrise still arrives right on time. Some things changed, some things didn't, both feel strange. I passed the places where conversations lived, future plans, bad jokes raised, predictions, dreams we carried between footsteps. Funny how friendship works, sometimes distance grows, but connection doesn't, because certain people become part of your route. Even when they're absent. One more run together through slower years, through changing seasons, through everything life added after we first met on those ordinary roads long ago. It's a training partner for someone, a race companion for someone, the person who understands why running matters without needing an explanation. And maybe that's rare, the older we get, finding people who understand certain parts of your heart without many words. Time measures many things, age, distance, careers, but friendship measures differently, through memories, through loyalty, through showing up again. One more run together someday, soon we'll start too fast, talk too much, laugh at old stories, and somehow pick up right where we left off. Different roads, same friendship, one more run waiting ahead. You were just another runner, a familiar face, passing the same river path on the same mornings, with the same sleepy eyes before sunrise. We exchanged small nods, nothing more, the kind of greeting people give strangers who happen to share the same stretch of road again and again. No one planned it, no one announced it, no one said let's become friends. The road handled that part without asking us, running into friendship 1 mile at a time. A conversation here, a laugh there, until one day the road felt strange without you on it. We talked about races, then work, then family, then dreams, then the things people usually keep hidden from strangers. Some mornings were easy, some were exhausting, some runs felt endless, but somehow shared miles always seemed shorter than solo ones. It's funny how trust grows not through speeches, but through repetition, through showing up, through seeing someone keep going when things get difficult. Running into friendship through winter mornings, through summer heat, through races, through setbacks, through years that moved faster than expected. For someone, friendship begins at school. For someone at work, for us, it began somewhere between kilometer 3 and kilometer 4. Introductions needed, no perfect timing, just shared effort, shared weather, shared goals, and enough mornings to build something real. The older I get, the more I value people who understand certain parts of my life without needing long explanations first. Running into friendship might be my favorite surprise, because I started running to change myself and ended up finding people I never expected to meet. Same sunrise, same road, good friend, unexpected gift. The future never knocked, wearing a name tag, never arrived early to introduce itself, never said, this is the day you'll remember later. Instead it hid itself inside routine, inside alarm clocks, inside unfinished evenings, inside runs that felt too ordinary to matter much. I kept looking ahead toward distant milestones, while something important was happening quietly beneath my attention every single day. Future built in disguise, wearing the clothes of today, looking like repetition, looking like effort, looking like another run nobody would talk about for years. A rainy river path, a forgotten workout, a slow recovery jog after a difficult week. Nothing about them felt significant enough to change a life, yet somehow they kept adding pieces to a version of me I hadn't met yet, building quietly behind the scenes of ordinary life. The strange thing about becoming is that you rarely notice while it's happening. The bridge is crossed one step at a time until the old shore is far behind. you. Future built in disguise, hidden inside habits, hidden inside patience, hidden inside evenings where quitting would have been easier, but continuing felt more honest. For someone, the future begins with a single kilometer. For someone, a single lesson. For someone, one more attempt after disappointment. And none of those moments look important enough while they're happening, because foundations rarely announce themselves before supporting something bigger. I used to imagine the future as an arrival. Now I see a different way. The future was construction happening quietly inside days I almost overlooked. Future built in disguise, piece by piece, choice by choice, mile by mile, until one day the life I hoped for was standing beside me. People celebrate outcomes because outcomes are visible, but outcomes are only rooftops built on structures nobody notices while they're being raised. Maybe that's why ordinary days deserve gratitude, because they're carrying materials for futures still hidden from view. Future built in disguise, I understand it now. The dream never arrived suddenly, it was assembled quietly through thousands of moments that looked nothing like success. No spotlight, no announcement, just tomorrow being built today. Same alarm again, same ceiling, same tired eyes, looking back at me through another morning that arrived without asking permission. Coffee cooling slowly, running shoes near the door, weather forecast unchanged, calendar still crowded, and yet one question waits every single day. Not will I become great, not will I succeed, just something smaller, something harder, something honest. Again, how about today? Will I show up when nobody's watching? Will I take one more step toward a future I still can't fully see? The road remembers more than I do. Old struggles, old excuses, old versions of myself that almost stopped right here. Some days felt powerful, some felt pointless, most felt ordinary, but somehow the ordinary days kept moving the story forward. Maybe progress isn't built on extraordinary moments. Maybe it's built on answering the same question over and over. Again, how about today? Not yesterday's effort, not tomorrow's dream, just this morning, this road, this decision, right now. For someone, it's another run. For someone, another lesson. For someone, another attempt at something they're still learning. And nobody applauds the repetition, because repetition doesn't look exciting until years later when people call it success. The strange thing is, I stopped searching for perfect days and started trusting what happens when imperfect days keep accumulating. Again, how about today? That's the question that built everything. Not talent, not luck, not timing, just today's answer to yesterday's question. Same There was a time when hesitation sat beside me, before every difficult run, before every bigger goal, before every road that stretched beyond what felt comfortable. Questions arrived early, louder than footsteps, stronger than confidence. Always prepared with reasons to stop before I had even started moving. And the strange thing is, those voices never vanish. They still visit sometimes during hard workouts, long runs, or uncertain seasons of life. Oh, doubts, smaller voices, that's the difference now. The fear still speaks, but it no longer leads. It rides in the backseat while effort keeps its hands on the wheel. The river path taught patience, the long runs taught trust, and ordinary evenings taught something unexpected. The courage is in silence, it's movement despite the noise. Some worries prove wrong, some came true, yet neither stopped the road from teaching me that progress survives even imperfect confidence. Over time, I used to wait until I felt ready, until uncertainty disappeared, until belief felt complete, but readiness rarely arrived before the first step anyway. Old doubts, smaller voices, because evidence accumulated. Mile after mile, run after run, showed me I could handle more than those fears predicted. For someone, the doubt is pace. For someone, the doubt is age. For someone, it's wondering if they started too late to become who they want to be. And none of those fears need to disappear entirely, because bravery was never the absence of doubt. It was continuing while doubt remained nearby. The older I become, the more I trust experience. Not because experience guarantees success, but because it reminds me how many worries fail to become reality. Old doubts, smaller voices, I hear them differently now. Less like warnings, more like echoes from versions of me still learning how far we could go. People often imagine confidence as something permanent, but confidence changes. It grows, it weakens, it returns just like fitness does. Maybe wisdom isn't becoming fearless. Maybe it's recognizing which voices deserve attention and which voices have been wrong before. Old doubts, smaller voices, and that's enough for me. I never needed perfect certainty, just enough belief to keep taking the next step after the last one. Same doubts, lower volume, still moving forward again. I expect that to arrive with proof. New records, clear victory, something obvious enough. Acousticギターが心地よく広がり、リズム感のあるピアノのメロディーが続きます。 穏やかな景色が広がり、心が安らぐ瞬間を焼き出すような癒しの音楽です。ランニングが通勤、勉強仕事の集中タイムにぴったり、時あり軽やかな手拍子も加わり、さらにリズムに引き込まれます。 Maybe growth looks like this, not louder, not bigger, just stronger in places nobody else can see, until life has something hard of you and you answer differently. The route stayed familiar, the river stayed familiar, the same bridge waited ahead like it always had, yet somehow the person crossing it kept changing slowly. I stopped checking my watch quite so often, stopped needing every run to justify itself, stopped believing every good day needed a reason. I thought confidence would feel dramatic, but confidence arrived quietly like a friend who visited often enough to become part of the house without announcement. Maybe growth looks like this, showing up consistently after motivation leaves, trusting the process without needing evidence every single week to keep believing in it. For someone growth is distance, for someone it's recovery, for someone it's learning not to quit when progress slows down. And none of those victories need a finish line, because some changes happen internally first, long before the outside world has anything to celebrate. The most meaningful improvements rarely arrive all at once, they accumulate through repetition, through ordinary evenings, through choices that seem small at the time. Maybe growth looks like this, a little more resilience, a little more patience, a little less fear than last season, than last year, than the version before. People notice outcomes because outcomes are visible, but growth spends most of its life underground, building roots before it ever becomes something people can point to. Same road, different mind, still growing. Maybe growth looks like this, quiet enough to overlook, powerful enough to change a life without fanfare, without headlines, without asking for recognition first. Same road, different mind, still growing. Some runners looked effortless, smooth stride, easy breathing, finishing workouts while I was still checking my watch, hoping the next kilometer felt kinder than the last. They made it seem natural, as if speed belonged to them, while every improvement I earned arrived slowly through repeated mornings and shoes worn thin along familiar roads. There were nights I questioned the gap between where I stood and where I wanted to be, wondering if determination could really travel that far on its own. Effort outworked talent again, not in a single race, not in one dramatic moment, but in the quiet accumulation of ordinary miles. while they were happening. Rain didn't cancel the run, fatigue didn't cancel the run. Self-doubt came along, but it couldn't cancel the run, because habits had grown stronger than the excuses that used to lead me home. The river path remembered every return, every difficult evening, every promise kept when comfort suggested I skip just this once again. Talent often shines early, and that's beautiful, but effort keeps working long after applause fades, long after novelty disappears, and long after conditions stop being ideal. Effort outworked talent again, through alarm clocks, through long runs, through recovery days respected, through consistency stacked so many times it became impossible to ignore. For someone, the gap is pace. For someone, the gap is confidence. For someone, it's simply believing they belong in the race at all. And none of those battles are visible on a leaderboard, because the hardest competition often happens quietly between who you are today and who you're trying to become. The longer I admire shortcuts, and the more I admire people willing to stay with the process, even when results arrive late or not at all. Effort outworked talent again, not because effort is louder, but because effort returned on days talent stayed home and kept building after excitement moved on to something else. People love natural ability because it feels magical, but repetition creates its own kind of magic, the kind that transforms ordinary people over extraordinary lengths of time. Maybe the real victory isn't beating someone else. Maybe it's reaching a place your past self believed was reserved for other people. Effort outworked talent again, and maybe it always will. When effort learns patience, when effort learns consistency, when effort stops chasing shortcuts and simply keeps showing up year after year. No spotlight, no shortcut, just miles becoming strength. The convenience store clerk looked familiar again. Same quiet grating, same yellow lights, same sports drink, resting beside the register like every other weeknight. A bicycle passed slowly along the river path, apartment windows glowing above distant streets. Nothing about the evening suggested it would matter years from now. If someone filmed tonight, they'd probably miss it, because ordinary moments rarely look important while they're happening. They don't announce themselves before they change you. 1,000 ordinary evenings built more than I realized. Not one heroic effort, not one perfect season, just small decisions made repeatedly under familiar skies. Some nights nights were humid, some carried winter air. Some arrived after overtime, some after difficult conversations. Some began reluctantly with shoes tied slowly beside the front door. Yet every route left something behind, a little more endurance, a little more patience, a little more belief than I had carried into the night before. I thought transformation would feel obvious, something dramatic worth remembering clearly, but growth preferred quiet repetition over memorable moments. 1,000 ordinary evenings became confidence, became discipline, became promises kept to future versions of myself long before I understood what I was building. For someone, it's 10 minutes after work. Someone, a recovery jog. For someone, just enough movement to keep a difficult day from following them home. And none of those nights needed recognition, because foundations rarely ask for attention. They simply hold weight when life becomes heavier later on. The strongest parts of me weren't created suddenly. They were assembled quietly through repetition, through weather, through fatigue, through showing up again. 1,000 ordinary evenings still live inside these miles. Every bridge crossed, every rap repeated, every moment I almost stayed home but didn't. People celebrate breakthroughs because breakthroughs are visible, but most lives change through accumulation, through ordinary evenings stacked carefully over extraordinary lengths of time. Maybe success isn't one unforgettable day. Maybe it's discovering how many forgettable days were secretly carrying you forward all along. 1,000 ordinary evenings, and somehow here I am, stronger than I expected, calmer than before, still running, still learning, still becoming. Familiar road, familiar sky, 1,000 times, still worth it. The same river path again, the same convenience store glow, the same dog walker crossing the bridge ahead. Nothing about tonight looked memorable enough to become a story later. No breakthrough workout, no dramatic weather, no finish line waiting, just familiar footsteps finding their rhythm between street lights and quiet neighborhoods. Years ago I would have searched for bigger moments, milestones, proof that something important was actually happening to me. Very ordinary, very important. That's how change often arrives, not through headlines, not through applause, but through evenings that seem forgettable while they're happening. A red traffic light paused the run briefly. Cars passed, music kept playing, and I stood there without realizing I'd once dreamed of this routine. Back when consistency felt impossible back when running 3 times a week required negotiations with doubt, fatigue, and old habits. The strange thing about progress is how normal it feels after enough repetition. The extraordinary fades into everyday life without asking permission first. Very ordinary, very important. Another run after work, another quiet kilometer, another promise kept to the future version of me, waiting patiently down the road. For someone, it's a recovery jog. For someone, a walk-run combination. For someone, simply getting outside when staying inside felt easier. And none of those efforts need to look impressive, because meaning isn't measured by spectators. It's measured by what changes inside the person doing it. The older I get, the more I notice how much life is built from things that never trend, never go viral, never earn applause, but matter anyway. Very ordinary, very important. Like tying your shoes when motivation doesn't show up. Like starting slowly and finishing anyway. Like choosing growth before you can see it. People remember race photos because cameras were present, but most transformation happens outside the frame, where nobody documents the repetition that made everything possible. Maybe purpose doesn't always arrive loudly. Maybe it lives quietly inside routines we almost underestimate, because they became familiar. Very ordinary, very important. That's what these miles became. Not legendary, not extraordinary, just deeply woven into the person I'm still becoming. Same road, same shoes, different person, still running.
Lights still glowing from the apartment window, unanswered messages waiting. Face down on the table on my running shoes, sat quietly near the door, like they already knew. The city felt overcrowded tonight. Too many thoughts, too many voices, too much pressure stacked inside my chest, with nowhere clean to place it down. So I stepped outside slowly. Stretching across wet pavement, while the first few breaths still sounded heavier than they should have. Just enough running to breathe again, not for pace, not for distance, just enough movement to quiet the noise inside a mind that forgot how to rest. The playlist kept looping softly through old wired earphones, traffic fading behind footsteps, river air cooling sweat, while tension slowly loosens its grip around my shoulders. Some nights the run becomes conversation between exhausted lungs and an exhausted life, both trying carefully to survive another week without collapsing completely. I used to think running meant pushing harder, but certain miles aren't about discipline, they're about recovery, about For someone, competition. For someone, just the safest place to fall apart privately without explaining anything. And none of those reasons make the run smaller, because survival sometimes looks like movement through empty streets after emotionally heavy days. The older I become, the more I admire people who protect their peace before burnout arrives. People who notice their spirit thinning out and choose movement gently. Just enough running to breathe again still saves me sometimes. Not dramatically, not instantly, but enough to remind me I'm still here beneath the stress. People celebrate intensity because intensity looks powerful, but softer endurance often keeps people alive longer. The kind that listens before the body breaks completely. And maybe healing doesn't always arrive through answers. Maybe sometimes it arrives quietly through wet sidewalks, steady breathing, and one more nighttime run. Just enough running to breathe again, that was all I needed tonight. Not perfection, not transformation, just enough distance to feel my heartbeat return to something human again. Wet pavement, cold night air, steady breath, still running. My shoes scrape softly against the uneven pavement, breathing heavier than I wanted tonight.
While cyclists passed easily through cold evening air without looking tired at all.
The running watch vibrated, another slower split screen glowing against sweat as frustration tightened quietly somewhere between my chest and the silence inside these headphones. It's easy to admire speed from far away, smooth strides, clean progress, people posting distances that make your own effort feel smaller than it is. Under every slow line there's effort, hidden beneath tired breathing, beneath heavy legs, beneath quiet self-doubt. Because not every battle looks impressive from the outside while it's being fought.
Some nights I stopped at crosswalks longer than the signal required, pretending to fix my playlist
while secretly trying to steady my breathing
before moving again.
And still, those slower miles carry things, stress from work, unfinished thoughts, pressure nobody noticed except the road beneath me every night.
I expected progress to feel more visible, but real endurance often hides itself
inside ordinary people,
quietly continuing
through difficult weeks. Under every slow run there's effort, even if nobody applauds it, even if the numbers disappoint you, because consistency
sometimes sounds like tired footsteps
returning home
after another long day.
For someone, the slow run is recovery.
For someone,
mental survival.
For someone,
proof they didn't stay home
when life already felt too heavy to carry comfortably.
And none of those reasons make the effort smaller,
because unseen struggles still consume energy,
even when the world
can't measure them properly.
The older I become, the more I respect people who continue imperfectly, without needing validation, without pretending. Their progress always feels inspiring. Under every slow run there's effort.
I understand that deeply now,
because some of the hardest seasons of my life
were hidden beneath runs
that look ordinary to everyone else.
People notice fast runners
because speed catches attention,
but slower miles
often carry heavier stories,
invisible weight
moving quiet
returning to it,
even after exhausting days
that emptied most of your spirit.
before you arrived. Under every floor there's effort,
More than numbers can explain.
because some people aren't only trading legs, they're rebuilding themselves
One difficult mile at a time.
Red traffic light, uneven breathing,
Still moving. Moving.
the traffic light changed twice before I caught my breath. Hoodie slips down till I can slide away, while faster runners disappeared far beyond the next intersection. My running app kept speaking, split times I didn't like, numbers falling short of what I imagined. When I first promised myself I would become stronger this year. It's easy to feel behind now, everyone moving visibly, posting victories, perfect training blocks, effort edited cleanly for small glowing screens every night. Going slowly still counts, even when progress feels invisible, even when your breathing sounds heavier than everyone around you, because continuing imperfectly still moves you farther than quitting comfortably ever will. Some nights I stop beside vending machines, pretending to stretch while secretly wondering if I was built for distances like these at all. But tired footsteps kept returning anyway, across familiar sidewalks, past closed restaurants, through humid air and half-finished self-belief again. I expected growth to feel more dramatic, but most change arrived quietly through slower miles, through awkward beginnings, through not giving up on difficult weeks. Going slowly still counts, because endurance isn't always fast. Sometimes it looks like showing up exhausted, tying your shoes anyway, and jogging softly through another heavy evening. For someone, the slow pace is recovery. For someone, mental survival. For someone, the first attempt at rebuilding confidence after difficult years. And none of those journeys deserve shame, because comparison rarely shows the full weight someone carried before arriving here tonight. The older I become, the more I respect people willing to continue slowly, without applause, without shortcuts, without pretending the road feels easy. Going slowly still counts. I believe that deeply now, because some of the strongest people I've ever known once walked sections of roads they now run confidently through today. People celebrate speed because speed looks impressive, but slower progress teaches different things: patience, humility, and how to stay gentle with yourself. And maybe strength isn't becoming untouchable, maybe it's allowing yourself to grow honestly without rushing the person you're still becoming. Going slowly still counts.